Foodie beauty, her name. On YouTube she reigned, with laughter and feasts, her mouth unrestrained. She met him online, a Syrian soul, in Kuwait's golden sand. Their love took its toll. Oh, food beauty, foolish and old, do your worst, she cried, her story unfold. Now in Syria's dust, where shadows abide, an outlawed queen with nowhere to hide. No water, no light, just hunger, harsh sting. Her emptiness burns, she will do anything. Her stomach is empty, her soul even worse. Her need for a man's love is her very worst curse. In Kuwait she taunted, do your worst. Defiant and proud, she retreated and cursed. But the law struck hard, now a life of crime. They fled to the warlands, no rhythm, no rhyme. Now in the ruins of Syria, hope fades. No Wi-Fi, no air, no bright yesterday. The table is bare, the faucet dry as stone. Her love by her side, an empty, cruel home. Oh, foodie beauty, foolish and bold, do your worst, she cried, her story untold. Now in Syria's dust, where shadows abide, and now a queen with nowhere to hide. No water, no light, just hunger, harsh sting. Her heart is humming a mournful lost string. In the silence, her memories quietly weep. Yet somewhere inside, emptiness so deep. For love, for a home, her delusions made her fall for a creep. In the desert
Can you hear me now? Why no sound? Huh. I am having so much trouble with this. If you're talking, we cannot hear you, but you should hear me. Why? Let me look. That works. That's on. That is on. Oh, you can now. It's almost like it's delayed, isn't it? It's almost like it is not. Very strange. Okay, so let me start over. I told you guys I was going to come back. I was going to be doing a Barry Morphew video this evening. However, there have been developments in this whole terrifying Chantal drama. And so, just because it's so contemporary and current and dangerous, it's such a terrible problem. I made the decision I would go ahead and cover this now, and then I will do the Barry Morphew video before noon tomorrow. Okay, I promise you. So, hi, my own muse. How are you? Thank you so much. Amy's Justice League, welcome. Scanninona, how are you, my friend? Hey, Justice Jane, good to see you. Snickers, welcome back. Ceresia, good to see you again. All right. Ohio Stephanie's here. Thank you, Ohio Stephanie, for spending your time with us. Diamond Paul, my friend, how are you? Amy's Justice League was listening to a different one of my YouTube videos and won't let me paste the video for some reason. Are they saying Druze or Jews? It's Druze, Druze. And so that's part of what I'm going to be talking about. And so Druze are they're a group that they're in southwestern Syria, near to the Jordanian border, and they historically they have been there for eons. But in this modern Syrian war, and when I say modern, I'm talking about since the Al Qaeda fella took over Syria and became president. The Druze are actually fighting with Israel, which is kind of strange, right? Because they are in fact Syrian, but Israel has sort of stepped up to try to help them. The Alawites have been all but wiped out by Salah's friends. And Salah is the kind of guy that is aligned with the new president of Syria. Yeah, this can get bad. You guys just wait. This is crazy. So whether Foodie is Chantal, whether she is defiant or oppositional, there's a lot of people that say she has very real oppositional defiant disorder, and that it's like a compulsion. So it's outside of her control. If you say right, she'll say left, and she can't do anything about it. So it's hard to know if she's just being defiant, kind of having fun, because the approach that she's taking is that no one knows. She knows, because she's actually there living in her bombed out little apartment. But none of us know, and none of us are able to understand the gravity of what is happening there on the ground, and that we can't read the news. So she's taking this very smug, kind of demeaning, kind of talking down to the people that are appealing to her for her safety, right? Like the majority of people now are kind of like, girl, this is not Kuwait. This is not playing around with Natter in Canada. This is the real deal. Like, you have stepped off in it big time. And she seems oblivious. In her newest video, she says that near to where their house is, that there's a big group of men with machine guns, and they're just so nice. They're just so nice and sweet. And I'm thinking, Chantal, you're literally in a war zone. Literally. When I say she's in a war zone, according to the United Nations, the monthly death toll is 361 civilians out of 391 people killed in June. June, not the year 2025, the month of June. 31 days, 391 people dead, of which only 31 were military. But the people with the machine guns are so nice, you guys. They're just so sweet. And they recognize Salah, and it's just so nice. It's just so great to see them. They just give the neighborhood that warm and cozy feeling. Does this sound like a woman who has any business being anywhere outside of Canada? Or does she need a 24-hour round-the-clock sitter to keep her alive? If you think this sounds ludicrous, that she's talking about Al-Qaeda being so friendly in her neighborhood, if you think she sounds crazy, put a 1. If you think it's perfectly natural and you would be comforted by the presence of men with machine guns on your neighborhood street corner, put a 2. I'm just curious if I'm the only out of touch person here. So, the Syrian Observatory of Human Rights has documented the death. Remember, these are documented deaths. There's probably a lot of people killed in the rubble that nobody's found or looking for. 391 people in June of 2025. There were 31 women and 25 children that were a part of the 360 that were killed. There were hundreds of women and children that were kidnapped just 2 days ago, 3 days ago. So there were 37 civilians in June, 3 children, 2 women. They were killed in fighting and indiscriminately gunfire. Oopsie. Uh-oh. I thought that was one of Barry's chipmunks. Accidentally plunked him off. Yeah, just indiscriminate gunfire. 15 civilians, including a child and 2 women, were killed by the Military Operations Administration. 11 civilians were killed by the Military Operations Administration. 1 civilian was killed by infighting. 63 were killed by unknown circumstances. You know what that probably was, Salah? It was probably people trying to return to their home in the south of Syria. And the Al-Qaeda army said, wait a minute, you don't get to come back here. We own all this now. All of this is being given to Al-Qaeda fighters. So you go away because you weren't here to fight with us, buddy. So I don't know, Salah, if it's even safe to be doing what you're doing. 35 civilians, including 16 children and 2 women, were killed by explosions of old ordnance. Do you know what that means? That means that Israel bombed a building where Al-Qaeda was keeping ammunition and ordnance, and they surrounded the building with women and children to try and stop Israel from blowing it up. So they sacrificed 35 civilians. There were 46 civilians extrajudicially executed. These were actually people that this very kind and loving and modern Al-Qaeda decided were terrorists or traitors. And they executed them in the streets where everybody could watch and clap. We're going to take a little look at that video. Brace yourself. There were 60 civilians that were flat out murdered. 30 civilians killed in car bomb attacks. 3 civilians died after being tortured by the Military Operations Administration, aka Al-Qaeda. 5 civilians killed by ISIS. 1 civilian killed by Israeli gunfire. 1 civilian killed by a landmine and IED explosions. 59 civilians, 3 children and a woman were shot dead by an unknown gunman. 59? You've got a man running around with a gun. You don't know who he is, and he's managed to shoot 59 people? Who remembers the gunshot the night that Chantal was live? There were 3 civilians that were killed by SDF, and 5 civilians were killed in other circumstances, quote unquote. The 31 non-civilians, aka military, 3 were ISIS, 14 were members of the Military Operations Administration, the current Al-Qaeda government, the Syrian Democratic Forces, the Al-Qaeda government, Syrian fighters of Islamist and rebel factions, Al-Qaeda, local gunmen, 4 jihadists, and then 1 other. So the Syrian Observatory for Human Rights calls on the international community once again to work hard to stop the bloodshed in Syria. And Chantal, the greatest majority of these 391 deaths happened in your backyard, sweetheart, where your oh so handsomest husband has taken you to live. How does a man, Chantal, love you if he takes you into a war zone? How is that, Chantal? Is he valuing you and your life? Or does he need to keep you close so that he can get your YouTube money? And you may want to check with garlic bread because you ain't getting your AdSense money. You hear that, Salam? The money train ended the minute that Chantal went live in Syria because AdSense is going to flag it and it's over. She'll be demonetized. She'll lose it all. So Chantal, if I were you, I'd be busy trying to find a way to get away from him because he's going to be furious with you. The Syrian Observatory renews its commitment to continued monitoring and documenting of all developments on the ground in Syria, including, and I quote, the massacres, plural, violations, war crimes, crimes against humanity, as well as publishing all relevant statistics and casualties of heinous acts, and hope to help all of the ongoing efforts of bringing the perpetrators to special international courts so that they do not escape justice for the crimes they committed against the people of Syria. So that is kind of where we are by the end of June, and I'll tell you where we are. Our daily stats. Death. Oh, look. Oh, this is not good, Chantal. This is very bad. In fact, let me share this page with you guys so you can see it. So Chantal can see the reality of what is happening around her. Okay. All right. You see how Chantal, they haven't reported since the 11th, 4 or 5 days ago, right? Why is that, Chantal? Oh, because they had another massacre. Because they had another massacre, and because the war has fired up again in Sueda, which is right there where you are. I don't know what has to happen, Chantal, for you to get realistic about what you've done to your life. So Turkish forces, that was Ras Al Ain city. A young girl was killed. Let me see the ones. Salah al-Din is Aleppo. Let's see. So the two young men dead in fierce clashes with machine guns erupted in the early hours of Friday morning between two families in Tiban town in the eastern countryside of Deir ez-Zor. That is western Syria. That's that Al-Qaeda, ISIS protected zone. They actually slaughtered a woman in Aleppo. Chantal, 55-year-old lady, was found slaughtered in her home. A girl under 18 was shot dead by her brother in the eastern countryside of Dara. Gosh, maybe that's the gunshot you heard the other night. Do you wonder if that could be true? A man was killed by gunfire from an unknown gunman. A doctor and her housekeeper were killed after assailants stormed the doctor's home. Now, Chantal, why would a bunch of Syrians want to storm the home of a Syrian doctor? Isn't the doctor helping the people of Syria? Aren't you guys living in peacetime? Why would a group of people break into the doctor's home? Oh, because he's rich. Oh, yeah. Or because they needed medicine. Idlib is up north. 70-year-old man from al-Murshidi sect was shot dead in al-Barid. That's the south. 12-year-old girl died in Oms. She was hit by a stray bullet. And there were celebrations, al-Muhajirin, east of al-Wadad Pharmacy. That's another place they're at. So we have not received... They have not updated the massacre that's been playing out over the past like 48 hours. So let's take a quick peek at where Chantal and Salah are at. So here is Syria. Here is Syria, okay? Now, this is Damascus. KFG is in Damascus, right? Dara is Salah's hometown. That's where he's from. He is Sunni, and the Sunnis are Al-Qaeda, Islamist, and they support the current president, which is why he's able to be there working on his house and no one's killing him because he's in the club. But the reason that you can see, I don't know, it takes about an hour and I believe it was an hour and 20 minutes. I think it was an hour and 20 minutes. Well, I got to redo it. How far from Damascus to Dara? Okay. So it's a 1 hour and 21 minute drive from Damascus to Dara. All right. And let me add that to the screen so y'all can see it. All right. So it's a 1 hour and 20 minute from Damascus to Dara. Dara is where the family home is of Salah. I believe that he has gotten them an apartment that is close by his home so that during the day he can go over there and work on the house and then at night go back to the apartment and sleep. That is just my speculation. That I have no reason to know that that's what's going on other than I know where Dara is. I know that's where his family is from. I know that he's Sunni, and I know that he's there to get his family home in working order so that he can live there. And I know that when they drive into KFG, she says about an hour and a half. So they're in Dara, or maybe just a bit north of Dara, right? Okay. So where fighting has now broken up, and there have been like 30, I think there were 35 people killed and hundreds were injured, is a place called Sueda. And that is 1 hour and 29 minutes from Damascus. So they're here, right? They're in this. Now, maybe Sueda is a little bit, maybe it's a little bit, a few miles from them, but Dara is here and Sueda's here. It's right on top of it. So there's also been a great deal of fighting in Irbid. That has been a hot spot. And then the Golan Heights here, this is instrumental in the current fighting, the actual fights that are happening at this point in time. So how far is it from Dara? Let me look. From Dara to Sueda. I don't want the government. So you have to drive this way, and it's saying it's about an hour and 45 minutes. I thought it was closer than that. That's the government there. See, it actually looks like it's closer. There's Busra. There's some talk in the news about fighting in Busra too. So this is the M5. This highway right here is the highway that we saw Chantal on, like one of the first days that she was going live. This is called the Damascus Highway, or the Damascus Highway of Death. And so this would be how they would get home. Here's Dara, and then Sueda, Busra. I think the fighting is around here. Okay. So you see, she is in this, right? Like she's there. All right. So let me disconnect this. Why is it? It's like I add it and then it pops out. Can you still hear me? Are you sharing your screen? Because that's just how ignorant Chantal is, to sit on her live and say Syria is safe. Yeah, that's what I said. I don't know if she is just being defiant, if she's oppositional, or if she's just ignorant. I don't mean that as a slur. I mean like not having knowledge, that she's being restricted from information, or she's delusional. I don't know which it is, but she's in real trouble here. This is what has developed in the past 3 or 4 days in this area, is hella dangerous. Like, it's bad. Things have gone real bad. So you see where the M5 is, the Damascus Highway of Death. See where these orange tags are on this road right here? That is the road that we saw her on. And she said she was, the sign said Busra, Jordan, and I can't remember what the other town was on the road sign. So I think they were about right here when the picture was taken. So here's Dara, and here is the area where the fighting is going on, but they are also fighting in the Golan Heights, or I guess I should say at the base of the Golan Heights. This is the boundary for the Golan Heights here. Here's Dara. And so there's been plenty of clashes here, right? So this is Sueda here. This is the county seat. The town is here. So Dara is where they are. This is the county seat. And they're having fights around Irbid and over toward Golan Heights. All right. Now then. And I think so the Golan Heights is an area that's pretty contested. It seems like it goes back and forth between Israeli hands, back to Syrian hands, back to Israeli hands, back to Syrian hands. The land originally was Syrian. Israel, they had a war. Israel says we're going to take like 400, 500 square miles of this. We call it ours. The U.S. was the only nation anywhere in the world that recognized that in occupied territory of the Golan Heights. And at this point now today, there are a lot of Israeli settlers that live there, but Syria says it's theirs. So it's just a highly contested area. Israel's seizure of the Golan Heights led to many of the Syrians that were living there. There's about 20,000 members of the Druze community, D-R-U-Z-E. They still live there today. They're an Arab-speaking, ethno-religious community, and you find Druze in Syria, Lebanon, Israel, and Jordan. They're these little religious sects that kind of like tribes kind of that live together. After Saturday's attack, just this Saturday, Israel was quick to declare fatalities were Israelis, but in truth, there were Druze casualties as well. So let me see. There was one more thing I wanted to say about that. Trump made the controversial steps just a month or so ago, made the step to recognize the president of Syria as non-terror, and they removed the HTS off the terrorist watch list. I don't know why, because the truth is that the current man is Ahmed al-Shara, and that's the president al-Shara. He took back his regular government name once he became president of Syria, just in January, or I guess maybe it was March. During his time as a freedom fighter, this man was born in the Golan Heights, and his whole entire life has been Al-Qaeda. He's not done anything but be a freedom fighter, a jihadi. He is full-blown Islamist, Muslim Brotherhood type of just all in on fighting for the Levant and spreading Islam in every country in the world. Like he's in it up to his eyeballs. And so his former name was Abu Muhammad al-Jilani. And if you look him up, you see the history with this guy. But he became president in January the 29th of this year. Okay, so just months only he's been president. There was an overthrow of a secular president, Bashar al-Assad, in December 2024. That the group that did that is called the Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, HTS for short, and he was led by the current president. They're 100% Al-Qaeda. That, like, in no way is there a gray area here. The dude was besties with al-Baghdadi. Besties. Okay. So al-Shiraz, born in 1982 in Damascus. I'm sorry. He was born in Golan Heights. He lived in Damascus. He began his militant career fighting U.S. forces in Iraq. President Trump, who's educating you? This man should not be taken off a watch list. I don't care if he's president of the country. He's Al Qaeda. So he founded Al Nusra. Who's heard of Al Nusra in Iraq? How many American soldiers, how many American sons and daughters were killed by Al Nusra in 2012 to on? So he basically took Al Qaeda and he rebranded it to HTS in 2017, specifically because he wanted to distance his association to Al Qaeda. He wants to, he's even on record as saying, I am not a terrorist. I am not a jihadi. I am an angel, quote unquote. You know what that sounds like to me? That sounds like a whole lot of narcissism. You know what I mean? He sounds like a scary guy if he's proclaiming himself to be an angel. So 2012, he took Al Qaeda and he rebranded Al Qaeda's Syrian branch to Jabhat al-Nusra, and then that groomed into HTS, and that's how he became president of Syria. After Assad's fall, al-Shara emerged as Syria's de facto leader, shedding his jihadist name, Jalani, and adopting a more statesman-like image. Instead of wearing a suicide vest, Jalani traded his dynamite in for a French suit. He signed an interim constitution in March this year that established a presidential system for a 5-year transitional period where Islamic law is the key source of legislation, and he has formed a new cabinet while promising protections for minorities and election within 5 years, all based on Iran's method of government. Al-Shara, a terrorist, has been a contentious and subjective issue, heavily dependent on definitions, perspectives, in short, semantic games of geopolitical reality. Officially, he and HTS were long designated as terrorists by multiple entities due to their jihadi origins and actions during the Civil War, the war in Iraq, including alliances with Al Qaeda, suicide bombings in Malaysia and the Philippines, and control over much territory in the south of Syria. The US State Department labeled him a, quotation marks, specially designated global terrorist in 2013. And guess what, Chantal? The president of Syria right now today had a $10 million bounty on his head. In 2018, HTS was designated a foreign terrorist organization with known links to Al Qaeda and terrorist activities. Hell, it is Al Qaeda. They just renamed it. And you want to know something, Chantal? When they find out, when Canada finds out who you married, a Sunni, and you were living in the south of Syria, you ain't never getting back into Canada. The United Nations, the EU, the UK, and others maintain similar designations reflecting concern over the Salafi jihadist ideology and the history of violence against Syrian civilians and rivals. Critics, including Assad's allies in Russia and Iran, as well as human rights groups, accuse him of war crimes. The man should be facing a trial, not president of the country. He has personally directed sectarian attacks, and he was the authoritarian rule in Idlib, the little place down there next to where Chantal's living. The claims against Jilani and his involvement in terror have absolutely been substantiated by most of the free world. He is known for enforcing the strictest of Islamic code in Aleppo and Idlib. You in trouble, Chantal. Your world is just about to come crashing down around your shoulders. You not making any AdSense money is going to be that's going to be the least of your worries. On July the 7th, 2025, the U.S. revoked HTS's foreign terrorist organization designation and lifted sanctions, citing the group is stabilizing Syria post-Assad. Jilani has made a public disavowal of global jihad, and he is engaging in pragmatic diplomatic engagements. This move, made by President Donald Trump, has been praised as a realistic step to support reconstruction, but heavily criticized by others, including counterterrorism experts. They say the move is premature and that it is rewarding the extremism of a known jihadi. The President al-Shura himself has denied being a terrorist, positioning HTS as a nationalistic force fighting tyranny, and he is engaged in talks with Western diplomats to normalize his relations. While no longer officially a terror group in the U.S., Jilani's past, or Shura's past, and HTS's ideology lead many to view him as exactly what he is, which is a jihadist. Arguing that this delisting of HTS as a al-Qaeda terrorist type organization was a politically motivated one rather than a merit-based decision, President al-Shura, or Jilani, fits the profile of a former terrorist leader who has rebranded successfully enough to gain some international legitimacy, but his terrorist status remains a matter of debate and bias depending on the stakeholder. And there is no question from these academics that study the jihadist movement and the terrorist. There's no question he's simply playing a game. This is all being done for the Levant, for the caliphate. And, you know, as soon as they have business, they have money coming into the country, and some of their exports are going out. As soon as commerce begins to take off, he will enact the strictest of Islamic law. And you're going to be sitting right in the big damn middle of it, Chantal. It's incredible. The Druze we already talked about the Druze being there in that area since like the 11th century. They are monotheistic. They are considered an Abrahamic religion that incorporates Gnosticism, Neoplatonism, and other fringe philosophical traditions. The Druze emphasize secrecy in their religious texts. Their Bible is called the Epistles of Wisdom. They heavily believe in reincarnation, and they reject proselytizing, meaning you can't be converted to Druism, you have to be actually born into the faith. They absolutely do not adhere or even believe in the 5 pillars of Islam. And mainstream Muslims, terrorists, regard them as heretics. So they fight a lot. The Islamists hate the Druze. In southern Syria, the Druze form a significant community concentrated in the mountainous region known as Jabal al-Druze or Mount Druze, and that is the Suwaida Governorate. This area, located east and south of Damascus near the border of Jordan, is over 90% Druze inhabited and includes around 120 Druze villages. The Druze make up 3 to 4% of Syria's overall population, and that's about 800,000 people. Roughly half of them reside in the Suwaida area. Smaller Druze populations exist in nearby areas like the outskirts of Damascus, Mount Hernon, and Jabal al-Samat. They speak Arabic, often with a strange dialect that preserves archaic features, and maintain a strong sense of communal identity, blending in with surrounding societies for protection when needed. Now, this is the group, this is the area that the infighting has just blown back up again. Now we're going to take a peek at that. So let me share this on your screen. Add to the stage. Okay, so we're going to now play a little bit of what's been happening in the past 4 or 5 days. All right.
Sustained volleys of gunfire erupt in Suwaida, a Druze majority city in Syria's southwest, as a confrontation between locals and Bedouin tribesmen intensifies.
The clashes broke out after the kidnapping of a vegetable seller, a Druze who was plying on his trade on the road from Damascus to Suwaida. Other inhabitants have also been kidnapped by armed Bedouins on the same road, which is unsafe.
Syria's Interior Ministry expressed deep concern at the escalating violence and sent its units in to intervene.
I saw this and I kept thinking about Cutie saying how there's a lot of men with machine guns and they're really sweet. I thought about this group because remember the M5 is right there. They're right there at Dara, like between Jordan and Dara. This is where she's at, you guys. It's the damnedest thing I've ever seen.
The Suwaida Governorate, Interior and Defense Ministries have prepared a security deployment plan with the aim of asserting state authority and applying the law and disarming the groups who are operating outside the law and spreading chaos in Suwaida.
Friction in this province is far from out of the ordinary.
Oh, they're so sweet, aren't they? Look at him, he's smiling. They're such nice people. Did you hear what the guy said in this governorate, Salah's governorate, where he lives, where his family's from, where Chantal is currently sitting right now? This area, the South Syria, they have so much trouble, so many violent clashes that is far outside of normal. Listen, this is international reporting from France. Chantal, are you going to call them stupid?
April and May saw dozens killed in similar clashes between Druze and security forces and the Bedouin tribesmen which backed them, before local and religious leaders reached agreements meant to contain the violence. Authorities have struggled to integrate Druze fighters into Syria's new government and armed forces. The Druze retain deep-seated suspicions of the nation.
Did that look fun and warm and cozy and welcoming? Because Chantal says they're really sweet. They're really sweet. There's nothing to see here, guys. And yet she goes live and we can actually hear the gunshot. It really, it's beyond understanding.
New masters, following 14 years of civil war that ultimately pushed long-running leader Bashar al-Assad from power late last
Look, there's
year.
all Salah's
Efforts at
friends.
rebuilding the nation have also been
That's the
hampered by an
M5.
Israeli policy not to allow Syrian armed forces south of Damascus, leaving a void of state presence in which tension has
Did you hear that
sustained.
last part? They made an agreement not to put Syrian forces south of Damascus. So that means, Chantal, the jihadis will be firmly in control of your little hometown. And yet she says, oh, Salah says it's perfectly safe here. Well, you know what? If it's perfectly safe, then how did all those people die yesterday, the day before yesterday? How'd that happen, Chantal? If it's so safe. I have something else to share. Chantal said she is not afraid to die there. Kelly, she was spouting jihadi bullshit on her channel from Kuwait. She's totally been radicalized by Salah. The funny thing about that, though, is I don't think Salah has seen a day of real battle. I think he's just this little kid that grew up with a romanticized version of jihad. And up until now, he's just been play acting, right? He's just been play acting. Well, now he's in it. He's a real deal now. It's going to be very interesting to watch this and see how things go. It doesn't seem like it's going well, if you ask me. Here's some of those nice guys with machine guns. That says, clashes erupt in Dara, Syria, Dara, D-A-R-A-A. This is the nice guys with the machine guns. This is their friend. It's insanity. It's insanity. Look, it's a bunch of Salahs. They all look like Salah. Crazy. So yeah, it doesn't look safe, not by a long shot. It looks absolutely chilling. Sure, they're going to pick him up, Celestial. Of course they will. Yeah, of course they will. And now, okay, Kai says, where'd it go? There we go. Nope. Kai says the latest conflict is all over Al Jazeera News as we speak. Thank you, Kai. Sincerely, this is 4 days ago. This twisted off right in Chantal's backyard. And what does she do? She goes to KFG. She eats a fried meal that's big enough for a family of 6. And then she sits there and smokes shisha until she's so high. I think there's hash in it. But she sits there and smokes it until she's so high that she says to herself, is this even real? She looked horrible when she went live. That is what he wants you for, Chantal. He is checking on your cameos. He is checking on your YouTube. All he needs is your money. You have got to get out of there. You know what? At this point, you're safer in Aleppo. You're safer in Damascus. For damn sure, you're safer in Lebanon or even Jordan. You cannot. You are in a war zone, literally. But she knows better than anyone else. She is smug. She is smart aleck. She is sassy. It's the saddest thing I've ever seen. It is delusional suicide. She is destroying it all, burning it down. So there you have it. That's it. How's the gardening, hippieista? Gardening going well? All right. Let's look at, let me see if I can find Al Jazeera. Uh-oh. I don't think I can. My computer's doing that weird thing. Yeah. Okay. So I wanted to sort of give you guys direction so that you can now go and like Google and watch these videos on YouTube and the TV screens. You just won't believe it. Now, they came out and they said 17 hours ago, they came out and they said they had a preliminary ceasefire. They've been fighting for 4 days, right? They've been fighting for 4 days. Now, yesterday, 17 hours ago, they came up with a preliminary ceasefire. But then 2 hours ago, somebody opened fire and killed some more people. Canada, Mystic Firefly. Good. I'm so glad, hippieista. What's your favorite thing to grow? What do you mean he hasn't kissed her? I don't know about their personal stuff like that. Hey, cowboy dog. I'm drowning in raspberries. Boy, I'm jealous. I'm jealous. I used to love to go and pick blackberries. Thank you, Kai. Aren't you sweet? I appreciate it. And I've got to warn you, Kai. I do cover like true crime stuff, and so I'm really deep into the Barry Morphew, the disappearance of his wife, Suzanne Morphew. She's now been found. He's recently been arrested for her murder. So I do a lot of that kind of content. But hey, it's a hell of a story. If you haven't heard about it, you might enjoy, learning about it. He goes to his next court appearance is September the 2nd, and then I suspect the trial will probably be like maybe January, maybe. So yeah, but I hope you'll join us. That's awesome, Kai. Appreciate it. Welsh Rabbit. Hey guys, just stumbled upon this channel. Well, thank you for being here. I hope you'll rewind and go back to the beginning. I was just trying to let Chantal know, Foodie Beauty, that they broke out in a new battle 4 days ago, and she is literally sitting in the middle of a jihadist battle. So she is very dismissive and, obstinate and oppositional, but it's real. So, yeah, it's the craziest thing I've ever seen. This is the craziest story I've ever seen. Snickers. All right. So we are done with this content. Kai and everybody else, if you're new here, I hope you'll hit the subscribe button. I work a real life job, and so I don't have a regular upload schedule. But if you subscribe, then you'll get notifications for when I put something new up. So if you hit the thumbs up and subscribe, and then, like I said, I do some of the true crime stuff, and right now the Barry Morphew stuff is big for me. All right, okie dokie. And we'll go out on, how about let's go out on the shit show, because this is the shit show.
Yeah. And I burn that channel. Sinister grifters with a snake oil grin, voracious virtue signalers cashing in. False PIs, they're fixing the game, pointing fingers, but they're all the same. Innocent creators, moms with a cause, digging through the chaos, exposing the flaws. We're hunting for clues, untwisting the lies. Who's driving this shit show straight to demise? Convertibles roaring, cliffs in sight, like Thelma and Louise on a forever ride. They sail into YouTube fame, the crash is in sight. We're all on the ride, no brakes, no trust. Popularity is the spark that'll burn their channels in the dust. Or it'll burn their channels in the dust. Dust. Spark that'll burn their channels in the dust. Spark that'll burn their channels in the dust. In the dust, that'll burn their channels. It's in the dust, that'll burn their channels. What's in the dust, the dust, the dust, the dust, the dust, the dust. We're all on the ride, no brakes, no trust. Popularity is the spark that'll burn their channels in the dust. Dust.